you've made a beat and you're the most amazing person on the planet that you can charge the kid down the street $5,000 for an exclusive, great. I support that because that means they're going to come to me because they can't afford you, and I'm going to give them a more reasonable price. Peace, what's going down? It's the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast. My name is DJ Payne One. I'm here with a whole bunch of amazing people. Initially, we were going to have a heartfelt intro where we discussed Dame's relapse over the last week with Sugar. We discussed him avoiding sweets. And then Erinn apparently also went back to her parents' house to retrieve that bag of cookies that and we're going to avoid. Did. I hate that I felt that in my soul because I would have done the same thing probably. And this is why we have a problem. We're gonna delve into this a little later when we have the emotional capacity. But today we have a very special guest, and admittedly he's a new face, not just to the podcast but just to us in general. So please welcome in the comment section. Be nice to Phillip Payne. How are you feeling, sir? Good morning.
I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm inspired. I feel fresh. I feel on the up and up. Like I'm happy I get to do what I love every day.
So Phillip, give yourself a little bit of an intro in terms of like how long you've been in the industry, type of stuff you're working on, because I was just telling Payne and Erinn before we started the podcast that I never met Phillip before. Phillip just liked something that I had posted, and then I clicked through to his page. I saw a bunch of videos he was giving game. I was like, okay, this cat knows what he's talking about. So I reached out, said he would be down to come on a podcast, and that's how networking works. And hopefully, we continue to maybe one day do something, work on something. But Phillip, let folks know, like, the stuff you're working on and maybe how long you've been in the industry.
Man, appreciate you. So my story starts from Garland, Texas. Originally loved the game of football so much that I was really, really good at it and blessed enough to go to the University of Texas on a full football scholarship.
Nice.
From 2010 to 2006 to 2010. So when I was coming in there, just won the national championship, I was the number one wide receiver in the country. I thought I was going to the league. Turns out people at Texas are very, very good. And I wasn't as good as I thought I was. So I pouted for 2 years and then eventually got it, started playing a little bit on special teams. And then it got to the place where, like, I'm in my junior year. I got to find something else I want to do because I'm obviously not going to the NFL. Prayed about it. Boom. I knew it was music because, like, I was the person who put everybody on music when it came to pregame, and like I was the guy leading the freestyle sessions. Like I was the charismatic guy. So I was like, I want to be an A&R. So boom, I'm in Austin, Texas. How do I become an A&R? Right? I thought I had to move to LA, but I was like, oh, this is the live music capital of the world. We do have ACL. We do have South by Southwest. We have C3 companies that I could try to like get on board with. At the time, it was 2011, this kid was starting this company called Score More Shows. Now, Score More Shows actually was booking some of the acts that like I was listening to because that was the blog era. The first show that this kid ever did, his name is Sasha Stone, my best friend right now, and also my partner in some other endeavors. The first show that he ever did was a show with J. Cole. J. Cole came down here, performed the warm-up, and we did a Texas tour, San Antonio, Austin, Dallas. And then Cole called Kendrick on the phone, was like, yo, you should come do, Overly Dedicated. And boom, we did that tour. And like, as they grew, we grew. Eventually, probably like, 2 or 3 years in, I think 2011, Sasha was like, yo, I want to get into artist management. He met Johnny Shipes. Johnny Shipes was like, yo, there's this kid, Tory Lanez, that I think you should probably look at. I don't really have the bandwidth to do it because I got the pro era thing going. Boom. Sasha brought Tory to me. It was like, yo, man, I want to do this. Would you do this with me? So 2011, I think, 2012, we started managing Tory and did that till 2020. After that, me and Sasha started an independent venture to help artists fund themselves because of all the things that we learned, with Interscope, and also doing it independently with our deal that we did with Create. And now I started my consultation company called Plan A to help managers because I want to help actually young managers not make the same mistakes that we did, because we didn't sign the best deal, because we just didn't have the information. We didn't put ourselves in the best position. But with experience, we learned like some of the things that you should do. So that's some of the things that I'm working on right now. I have a partnership with an artist named Piff Marty. I have a partnership with an artist named Jay Safari. There are a couple other artists that I'm super excited about. One is named Flazings. Another one is named Play Yard. So I'm working on some things, and they're the reason I'm so inspired right now. So.
See, that's amazing. Like I knew there had to be something just by the way you posted your videos and the things that you were saying. I was like, there has to be some real experience behind this. I had no idea that it was all of that. But that's amazing. And we appreciate you joining the podcast.
And thank you so much.
We got to talk offline, because I know we know some of the same people. If you worked with Score More, because we work with Ed a lot, and I know probably know Ed. Yeah,
me and Ed are in a group chat right now. So
yeah, my business partner is in Austin, so my company is in both Atlanta and Austin. So yeah, we definitely got to talk, because you named some people. I'm like, yo.
And this is just, lets people know that, like, as you get further into this and achieve some success, like, it's a small industry, and you start running into the same people, or somebody that knows somebody. So for sure, there's a lot of people that I'm sure Erinn and Phillip both know. There's got to be a lot of connections. But we're gonna start the podcast off. Erinn had an update from last week. I'll let you take the floor and let us know what happened.
So I just want to say thank y'all for last week. A lot of y'all had really encouraging or intriguing questions to ask me about the deal that seemed to go south with my artist. I got a lot of DMs. People were like, well, how are you going to renegotiate this if you don't have any leverage? And I was like, I always have leverage. So that's a place that I always put myself in my artist. I'm not going anywhere if I don't walk in with leverage. If I don't have leverage, I'll go build it, and then we'll come into the room. So I called the label. If you didn't listen to last week's podcast, go back and listen. It's somewhat of an intricate story, but essentially my artist signed away. I just started. Our company, Build Your Own Dreams, just started representing an artist about 4 or 5 months ago. One song that she has is a co-write and co-release with another artist that I manage. So we just landed an insane sync last week with Netflix. Biggest sync of my career, actually, to date. Was really exciting. So I'm like, yo, send me the paperwork that y'all did on this, because I wasn't repping her at the time. I thought I only had my other artist side of the paperwork. She sends me the paperwork, and essentially she had signed away her rights. She did a work for hire, a gratis work for hire. So it was free. She didn't get paid. And so she didn't own any parts of the master, and wasn't going to get any parts of the master, but they did give her her actual reasonable percentage on publishing. So it was a good deal. So we got money on both sides, but I hate when artists don't own part of the master, especially since on the song she does like 70% of the song, because she's the hook and a verse, and she does part of the bridge as well. So I hit the label. I'm like, yo, what's up? Can we talk about this? I can come in hot sometimes, and I know that about me. So I tend to ask questions first before assuming, so that I don't show my ass. I know a lot of people don't have that type of cadence, but I'm in my 30s. And so I understand that you catch a lot more bees with honey, is what people say. So I send the contract right away so that they know what I'm coming in for. And they're like, yeah, we'll get the A&Rs on the phone too, so you know what's up. So I'm like, hey, y'all, what's up? What's up with this deal? Can you tell me why she signed a gratis work for hire? And they were like, actually, your side sent us this paperwork. And I was like, imagine if I would have came in hot yelling at these people, and it was on me. So I work with a management team for all of my artists. I don't do any day-to-day management. I do all of the high-level stuff. So I can't blame this on anybody though, because even though I'm not making the paperwork, my job is to sign off on anything that has to do with money coming in and out of my artist. So at some point during that deal, the song came out about a year and a half ago. At some point I didn't check. So the artist that I now currently represent was out of getting paid and a percentage. So I was like, cool. Are y'all okay if we retroactively say like up until what y'all have paid out, are y'all willing to change the paperwork if my side is willing to change the paperwork? And the label was like, sure. It's going to come out of the artist fee. It's going to come out of the artist percentage, not the label percentage. But you guys can rework whatever you feel like is necessary. In fact, we'll redraft the paperwork for you. So turned into a really good thing. I was talking a ton of shit about that label last week. I didn't mention them because I was talking shit. I'm also not going to mention them right now because even though they did right by this, I'm not a fan of the label and the way that they do business, but I have to say that this one was on me. I did not do my due diligence as a manager. I didn't read through the paperwork. So I had to call the other artists I represented. I said, hey, let's talk about this. This is why she said, I signed it. I didn't know what I was doing. So I told her, I was like, that's why you have management now so that you make sure you don't do any of that. I said, but this was on me. And I was like, I'm sorry that you have been out of paychecks for the last year because, labels pay typically 2 quarters late. You've been missing out on paychecks from this song for the last year because of me. And so in addition to that, my artist on the other side said, I want to give her half of what I make on this sync. And I also want to give her her percentage as far back as the label will go. So I'm grateful to be working with women who are so generous and kind because they both were like, hey, it's all good. Everybody makes mistakes. Thank you for telling us. And then the other artist was thrilled that I caught the mistake and was able to go back retroactively for her. So I just want to make a recant. It wasn't the label. It was me. And I had to own that. But when I owned it, nobody was upset. So managers, artists, own your shit. We all make mistakes. I think the goal here is to always continue to get better. So if you see something that doesn't look right, don't just say, oh, that doesn't look right and keep it moving. See if you can make it right, because had I not said something, neither of them would have known. One artist would have just been like, well, at least I'm making publishing. And then the other artist would have never known. She would have just been collecting the checks, but they both wanted to make it right. The label was willing to make it right. And so now we're all in a better, more beneficial relationship.
So, and what I think is important about this story is that you had the emotional intelligence or the self-awareness to know that sometimes you come in hot, right? So, because when something goes wrong, like you might think you know what happened, but sometimes you don't know what happened, right? So I think you approached it the right way. You knew that about yourself. You're able to have a mature, professional conversation, and you took accountability. And that was something that Phillip talked about in his videos, like just the importance of taking accountability. Phillip, do you have just a couple words about, or maybe an experience or an example from your history of, just the importance of taking accountability?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, there were so many times in my career, whether it was on tour, because I started as a road manager, and there are so many things that can slip through the cracks when you're trying to, manage the road, not only manage your artists, but manage the personalities around the artists, and then also execute the things that the label and the manager are asking you to execute, while you're literally trying to make sure that the venue has shore power or something like that. There are things that are going to slip through the cracks, but, owning it, and moving on and saying like, yo, that was on me, is so much better than trying to cover it up and try to put a Band-Aid on it, or try to act like it wasn't your fault. Because once it all comes back around and it was you, that trust that trust, it can damage the trust between you and your artist. And once that trust is gone, the relationship might as well be gone too. And the relationship is the most important thing. You know what I'm saying? I always tell every single one of my artists, man, trust is my love language, man. If you trust me, that means you love me. And that means that, you know what I'm saying, you know that I got your back, regardless if anything ever goes wrong, that, I have your best interests at heart. So
Yeah. And we're in positions where like there are so many moving parts. Like it's impossible to do everything the right way. Right. Yeah. So if you're not taking accountability for your mistakes, like it's going to stack up. And you're ultimately just going to look like a weirdo because, you don't take accountability for shit. And we know it's your fault because you're expected to make a lot of mistakes in this business, especially as a manager or a road manager. Like on the road, there's like a billion responsibilities, like from, hotels, transportation, making sure everything comes through on the rider. Like, and artists, they're pretty sensitive and emotional. So you're kind of on edge a lot. So yeah, you got to take accountability for it.
You hope that, by you setting the example of taking accountability, the artist will like follow suit in times where they feel like, yo, why did we really miss this deadline? Was it because, you had too much on your plate, or was it because, we kind of put something on the schedule that, wasn't supposed to be there, or you missed something and, why did we really miss this deadline? And like, if they can really come to you and be like, yo, you know what? I was wild. And I know you was trying to tell and you followed up with me to get this done. Like, that's on me. And man, when I hear an artist says that's on me, Jesus Christ.
Honestly, when I hear anybody take accountability, especially if any, like in the context of a friendship or a relationship, partnership, that type of thing, it's almost better to have, this is weird to say, but it's almost better to have a bad situation that gets resolved by someone taking accountability just for the overall trust than it is to just have a flat line of, nothingness. And I also want to say, because following up on last week's conversation, Dame thought he was going to get eaten up in the comments. The fact of the matter was people love Dame. The point was made a couple times was, yeah, right. The point was made that Erinn and I are the emotional ones and Dame is the business one. And I just want to say, there's a logic of emotions and there's an emotional aspect to logic. My opinion on that is no one's shutting off their emotions, but especially when it comes to the music business, I think I can speak for all four of us when I say we don't escape from this job. We live it and that's it. And so there really is no, when I had a traditional job, I could go home and say, all right, I need some time to reset. And now I'm shutting that part off. And now I can just be my emotional self, or now I can just, when I go to work, I'm just my professional self. We know damn well no one's just their professional self, even in the most professional situations. And no one's just generally speaking, their fully emotional self, because there's a system of checks and balances in our brains. In the music business, I think there's a myth surrounding this narrative that you can just shut your emotions off, especially in the music business, because you can't shut the music business off. So keep that in mind if you're entering into the music business, especially like you were saying, Phillip, when you're on tour, if I'm on tour with people, there's going to be a fight. We're going to hate each other. It's just going to happen because we're around each other 24/7. We do not escape. We literally don't get a break. It's not like me right here in my home studio. I can go upstairs and drink some tea. I can't do that on tour unless I physically separate myself from the rest of the group, which can cause a logistical problem. So all I'm saying is it's a wonderful world and there's nothing wrong with being emotional as long as you aren't being emotionally destructive either to yourself or to those you're trying to communicate your emotions to.
Man, that's so real. My partner, Sasha, is a person that a lot of people would say like, yo, you're so emotional, but it's like, yo, that emotion is what makes him one of the best managers in the game and what makes him one of the best promoters in the game. So it's like, people are always like, yo, it's not personal, but like, yo, it is in the music business, it is personal. Like we treat like our artists are our family members, bro. Like you put everything into them. You will put everything on the line for them. Reputation, burn a whole bridge down for them, knowing they're wrong You know what I'm saying? But it's like, yo, like we go to sleep with it, we wake up with it, and you know.
So there was a time. So when I managed Hobson, like he never took accountability for shit, like nothing. Like you could have your water bottle on the table, and like he could come by and knock it off, and then he might look at you and be like, "Well, why'd you have it on the edge of the table?" Like he wouldn't take accountability for shit. So like I even remember the time that I didn't take accountability and got caught. And it made me feel so terrible. And that's why I still remember it to this day. Cause I didn't want to deal with his bullshit. But our DJ Hoppa, and I don't remember exactly what I didn't take accountability for, something small. But our DJ Hoppa knew that something was my fault. And that made me feel so terrible that I remember the feeling. I don't remember exactly what I did. But I was like, nah, this ain't cool. It makes me feel better to take accountability than to possibly get exposed for not taking accountability for something. So yeah, I still remember that. But
and I just want to say this: it takes so much energy to not take it. Like I have 13 people on our payroll. You know what I'm saying? Like. And in addition to that, we represent across all three companies like 18 artists. So for me, I'm always telling my team, my bad, that was on me. Oh, I misread that, my bad, da-da-da. Because it's so natural for me. It don't feel no type of way. So me apologizing to my artist, if she blew up, cool. That's okay. I didn't think she would, but it's like, oh, this is actual money that you lost out on because I made a mistake, right? Her immediate reaction was like, thank you for catching it. I would have never known. It's okay, right? So when it's way less energy to be like, that was on me, than to consistently be trying to cover your tracks and present yourself as perfect. Because then you got to remember what you didn't tell them about. And then you got to kind of try to sidestep. And then in order to not be accountable, you have to have enough cognitive dissonance to also hold other people accountable. Because now you have to be like, well, you did, because stuff has to still get done. If you don't hold people accountable, stuff won't get done. I can't, for me, hold people accountable if I'm not holding myself accountable. So it just makes it easier so now my team, when I'm like, hey, you said you would do this and this didn't get done, this is costing me money and you're still getting paid. I can have that conversation and they're not going to take it personally because they've heard me. And even if they do take it personally, they can go sit with themselves and deal with that. They can't come back to me and be like, well, you didn't. No, because across the board, every day, all day, I'm holding myself accountable. And it just makes for a better, healthier work culture. So it's small-minded people who want to hide because you're not looking for the expansiveness that comes with being accountable.
For sure. Cool. So let's go into the next topic. I just wanted to kind of, I don't normally promote the stuff that I'm doing, but I guess I'm going to promote the stuff that I'm doing while asking you guys a question. So I manage a comedian named Big Ja. He does pretty well on YouTube and Facebook. All his sketches get hundreds of thousands, if not millions of views. So for a web series coming up, we're producing an original soundtrack, right? So the web series is called Cuddle Season. So it's an R&B project. I probably reached out to a total of about 8 artists to see if they would like to be on the soundtrack. Obviously, we're going to be pushing the music hard through our channels. We just shot some really dope videos. The web series, part of it is shot in a barbershop. So we went back to the same barbershop and set up like a kind of like a simple colors style video for each of the songs. So in these artists, they're not huge. I would say anywhere from 10,000 monthly listeners to 60,000, maybe in that range. So if I was going to present this opportunity to your artist and I reached out to you first, I was going through the manager, like, Phillip, what questions would you ask, or how do you vet opportunities, something like this? If I reached out to you and this is a cold reach out. Actually, some of these artists I knew before, but maybe it's a cold reach out. Like, how do you vet this opportunity? What questions are you asking to figure out if it makes sense for what you guys are doing?
Because to me, I'm just going to go do my research on you and him and see if it just fits the brand first. You know what I'm saying? See if it makes sense for us to do. And then it's when we're at that stage, nothing really should be too much about money. Everything should be about connecting the dots and having a relationship with somebody who can hopefully propel you forward, or at least connect you to somebody else. So just vetting the relationship, seeing if the relationship makes sense as well. And then just knowing the details, like what are the actual details? What do you need from us? Because that also, I think some managers kind of blow their load too early in negotiating. They say a price way too fast. Like, vet it first, like see what is required, and then, eventually get to a budget and, find out, what exactly you want to charge them. So in that, before we even got to a price, I would just need to know the details and what you would need from us, you know what I'm saying, to be able to help.
Yeah. And I'm assuming, Erinn, your approach might be something similar, but would you add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, I would be like checking data points, because I recognize that y'all may say, oh, yeah, we're willing to give you, or like, oh, especially if it's an artist that's in the 10 to 60 range, you're probably not paying a fee. It's going to be a fee or services that you're willing to do for this. I would ask about like details of the release, like, will this be a co-release? What are the type of marketing details that you have around it? Because I'm not opposed to convincing my artist to give a free feature if it's going to lead to a ton more exposure, especially when it comes from another independent manager. Now, with labels, it just really depends, because labels will try to be like, we're a big label, it's going to be beneficial for you. But I'm like, no, because y'all hire me to teach y'all how to market. So like, it's probably not going to be beneficial. So it's like, if the only thing you do have to offer me is money, and if you're not bringing that, why would I? But with independent people, if I'm looking at somebody like Big Jaw, that's going to be the first thing. I'm going to click on your bio or whatever. I'm going to be like, let me see what they have. If I see, okay, hey, can we negotiate for our song to be in the first episode? Or can you guarantee us a collab post when the song drops, and then one more collab post when the episode comes out? So any type of other things that I can get to make my artist, like to help my artist really benefit from the opportunity, I'm looking for how willing the manager is. Like, do you really want us, or are we just filling a potential spot? So if you're just like, well, no, we're not going to do all of that, then I'm like, you don't actually care about us, so why would I work with you? So then we're good. But if you're like, yeah, we can make that happen, or like, no, Jaw's platform is way bigger than y'all's, maybe we can get one co-promoted poster, whatever, you know what I'm saying? I think that would be where I'm looking, like, where are the points that we can really maximize this, and how can we catapult the relationship from here on out?
Yeah. Payne, you think anything else you feel like you would do to kind of vet the opportunity?
I feel like Erinn covered it. And when I was managing briefly, this did happen with an artist where, and this is why you have a manager, but this relationship was doomed when this happened, and when other things happened. But he went off and agreed to write a song and shoot a video. He was the featured artist. It was his song, but for this video company that made viral videos. Remember back then it still exists to an extent, but back then there were these video companies that just knew the formula to create viral videos. And this happened to be a parody song. And yeah, they did exactly what I knew they were going to do. They got a ton of press for it. The song hit like 1 million YouTube views in a week. And when it came out, we contacted him and we were like, hey, we didn't know you were doing this. We need to have a talk. So we had a talk, and we asked him, he was upset that we would even, doubt what he was doing. He wanted to feel like he could make his own decisions. I'm like, all right, you made this decision. Did you get paid? No. Are you going to get paid? I don't know. Because right now the song is being sold and it's on YouTube, but it's not on your channel. Is there any kind of revenue share? I don't know. Can the song be exploited by us on your side in any way? I don't know. What is your agreement with them? I don't know. So it's like, damn, dude, you wanted so bad to show that you could make a big boy decision, and look at you now. So all the questions that Erinn said she would ask, and all the questions Phillip was going to check into. I know that as an artist and a creative, we want stuff to get done right away when we feel like we're excited for the opportunity. And then all the logistical stuff tends to quell our excitement a little bit. You know what? Just trust. It goes back to trust. Trust that your management is doing the right thing, and go do something else that excites you, and then come back to this once the details are hashed out, because the excitement of the moment is great, but the disappointment of realizing that you just did a ton of work and put a bunch of money into someone else's pocket is far, far worse and far, far heavier.
What do you get for that? An Instagram post? Like, what is even the benefit? Oh, my song hit 1 million. And then they go to look for it. It's on somebody else's channel.
Yeah, and we're scrambling.
Like, what is that for clout? Like, like, what?
But you know how, and when you're like a newer artist or a younger artist, that kind of thing just, you just think, all right, well, that's just how it's done. You know, you blow up. That when you talk to artists, you're like, what are you trying to do? Blow up. What else? Get signed. Like all these really vague concepts. And you try to get them to speak more deeply about it. Like, what do you mean by blow up? Oh, you know, go viral. And then what? Oh, well, then I'll be rich and famous. Like, no, there are.
Well, no. This is probably during like the World Star days, like where you just wanted to be on World Star. You just wanted to have a lot of views.
Well, people still feel that way.
Right. Well, I think you guys brought up a lot of great points. I think, you know, what you were talking about, Payne, like the artist and manager, you guys should always be on the same page. You guys should know how you work, you know, how the communication works, you know, that you always be on the same page. For the most part, like the artists that we reached out to, there was only like a few that passed on it. I don't know why. I think one of the situations was just like bad management, just bad communication. Like I've seen artists, I see a lot of managers drop the ball for their art. I know we be on artists' head all the time, but like we try to give, you know, managers some critiques as well, because I see a lot of managers dropping the ball. They didn't really understand what the opportunity was. And I think when it comes out, they're going to feel bad. Like, damn, we could have been a part of this. We could have got all this video work for free. You know, we mix and mastered the songs. We brought producers together, you know, like we did a lot to push this. And obviously me coming from music, like I know how we can best help artists when we do this project. Right. And Ja is not, you know, he's not concerned about, I can tag people all day in his post and he's not tripping. He wants to show love. He wants to support. So I think some of these artists missed out on an opportunity to, you know, create a song for free. Like they didn't put anything up. They missed an opportunity to get exposed to potentially millions of people. And they missed out on not that we won't ever work with them again, but it could have been an opportunity to build a relationship for future opportunities. Right, because we're going to come with another web series right after this. There is an artist named Dylan Reese who's been tapped in with us for a couple of years now. We always use his song, and he's seen the benefit of it. He's seen the increase in fans, the increase in streams, because we used a song of his called "Sweat" in an ongoing web series that we have. It was a thing that we did for Manscaped. So he saw the benefit of having his stuff in our sketches. So I would just say to managers, if you don't know like what the opportunity is, like Phillip said, do your research, click through, have the conversations, ask the questions, to better understand the opportunity before you pass on it. And I also think that a lot of younger artists are too protective of their brands. Yeah. Like way overprotective. Like, I don't know like who you think you are right now, but you need to get in front of people. You need to start building an audience. And I'm not saying do anything and everything, but loosen up the reins a little bit. Like it's not going to hurt you to step outside of your comfort zone. Your brand is not that valuable right now. Like you need some fans. That's my perspective.
No, but I love what you said about managers, you know, getting out of their own way and going to go do the research, man. I can't tell you how many times, like, you know, I've seen young managers let their ego get in the way and miss an opportunity for their artists because they just didn't know. They didn't really know the information and didn't pick up the phone and ask somebody or go on YouTube and learn it. because your artist is going to ask you a question. This happens all the time. And you're either going to say, I don't know, or you're going to like try to shuck and jive, or you're going to say, yo, I'll find out and then get back to you. And a lot of young managers kind of are insecure about not knowing. So they'll fake it into them, but you will fake it and be broke, fam. If you just don't know the information, go ask somebody, call somebody on the phone, call a mentor, find a mentor, read a book, like go find out, you know what I'm saying? Like I don't understand a lot about sync, but I'm definitely about to be hitting y'all about it because I want to learn more about it, because I want to take advantage of the space. You know what I'm saying? Like I had to teach myself like the importance of publishing, like, and the nuances and all the money that we were missing out performing live, because like, of course, when we were signed to a label, that's a lot of information that like you just expect the label to like go and do. As a young manager, you're just like, yo, y'all take care of all that stuff. But like, yo, no, you need to know. You need to know what MLC is. You need to know what Harvey Fight. Like, you need to know what music. You need to go and find out what these things are. And I'm not saying you got to be a lawyer, but at least know some of the like bullet points and some of the things to look for. And yeah, man, that's so important that young managers like get out of their own way and go find the information before you guys miss out on some bread.
Yeah, especially at that stage. I remember early when, before we had really got a good amount of traction, like if somebody reached out, like, cause I was eager to work, like I wanted to start connecting some dots and collaborating with people. The one collab that we never did, and I properly vetted, I understood just based off the talent. This was before he got big. Rag and Bowman's people reached out to us to do a collaboration early on. And I just heard his voice and I was like, oh my God, this would be amazing. Hop didn't want to do it, but like he eventually blew up. I mean, I don't know how big he is now. I think he's pretty big still, but he had a really big moment. And we could have had a collab really early, but that was just more so because Hop didn't understand the opportunity. But that would have been amazing. So all the young managers out there, if an opportunity comes in, like, especially at the level of 10,000, 20,000, you should be vetting all opportunities that come in, because you never know who's knocking at your door. It could be somebody, not to say that, we're the biggest platform in the world, but some people humbly approach you and it could be somebody like mega big. And you just wouldn't know if you didn't. Well, you got to check your email too. So some people don't even be checking their emails. So yeah. All right, cool. So I know, Payne, we have another topic, and then we're probably about 40 minutes in now.
Yeah, I just wanted to wrap some topics and some lingering questions up from last week, because I know we got into a lot when the topic was just how much should producers charge for exclusive beats. So I just want just to answer the question more directly. So I'm going to start by kind of giving you the thought process that goes through my head, and then I want everyone else's input. And I know, Phillip, you've done videos about this. I think firstly, check your financial goals, and so say, for example, you're selling beats, you want to make 6 figures selling beats, right? A year. You need to make about 274 realistically dollars a day to pull that off. So I would say price your beats according to that, or at least use that as a starting point. So maybe you charge $550 per exclusive because that's 2 days work, or you charge $275 for a full day's work. I feel like it seems counterintuitive to charge less. It also matters, whether or not your beats are in high demand. So if your beats are not in high demand, maybe err on the side of 275, or, maybe you want to round up to 300. I don't know. But if people are wanting your beats and are willing to pay more because you're building up your brand to that point, then, great, charge more. And then maybe your financial goals go from 100,000 a year to 200,000 a year. And you start charging triple that. What was crazy about the conversation, because this all was sparked from a tweet from BeatStars asking that question, there's a huge gap between the two sides of this conversation. I feel like there's the one side that says unsigned artists don't have any money and should therefore not ever pay for beats. And then there's the other side that's like, well, producers do all the work and they should be able to charge 80 million per beat. We don't care if it's an unsigned artist. If they don't like it, they can walk away. I feel like there's a ton of flexibility in the middle. I'm in the middle. I think people should be paid a fair price for their work and talent, but also they should be asking for a reasonable price based on what the customer can afford. But for the record, if you're a producer and you feel like, just because you've made a beat and you're the most amazing person on the planet that you can charge the kid down the street $5,000 for an exclusive, great. I support that, because that means they're going to come to me because they can't afford you, and I'm going to give them a more reasonable price. So go ahead and do that. But to the rest of you, what do you think? Just with a definitive answer, what do you think is a good price for a exclusive beat from, I guess, a new producer?
I think new producers is anything between $50 and $350. I'm okay with, especially if it's a really good beat. I feel like we've paid that rate, but on average, I would say it's around $150 to $250 is what a lot of the producers who are new and just getting started, they're like, man, I would love if I could get $200 for a beat. And that always tells me like, oh, they probably haven't sold a ton of beats. We're like, yeah, we could do $200.
Yeah, that's an appropriate amount, especially when an artist is just coming out too. You know what I'm saying? Like, and that's why, like, I think it's so important that you work with someone on your same level as exposure, because like there can be egos when you come into it creatively, and one might think they're bigger than the other, and like it is so much more. I think you both feel so much more creatively free to like explore when you're both just on that grind and trying to like make something new and fresh, with each other. As opposed to like going into a room with an artist with artist or producer who's pretty much established and like has a little bit of traction going. You kind of like even shrink yourself a little bit, even if they're not the dominant person. You kind of like you're not as excited as you are with somebody who's like you guys relate because you're both trying to make it.
And then I would just remind young producers to add like the value of the relationship into your equation of what you're about to charge, right? Because hopefully you want to build a long-term relationship with these artists, and maybe sometimes you're giving some beats away for free. I know people don't want to hear that, but if it's an artist that you really believe in, and there's a way for them to compensate you back, or maybe that you can get a verse to put on your own project. Like there's other ways that you can creatively sort out these deals to make everybody feel cool, and you can be a part of what they're doing for the long haul. So no matter how you're negotiating, I just hope that you're keeping the future in mind of what the long-term value of that relationship could be, and not just that one-off beat sale. Because there's a lot of flexibility. There's a lot of ways that they can return value that aren't in the form of money.
There's a lot of artists will like with some of the artists that I was working with, like when I was working with Tori or working with Mariah or Cash Page, like younger producers would send us beats and like for free, and it's like that's so weird. Like you won't charge an established artist for a beat, but you'll try to break the bank for somebody who's on your level. Bro, come on. That don't make sense. That do not make sense. Like switch that actually, and like go with an artist who truly values you and who is truly appreciative of like you coming in and helping them create something that, could possibly like last the test of time. So yeah, man.
Yeah. Because established artists are used to paying or compensating for beats. So there's no reason to say, hey, let me give you this for free.
I will say some of them try to play the game. Because I used to work with a younger producer, and it was an artist that I previously managed that I don't anymore because his ethics are just so bad consistently. It ended with, at the end of our relationship, potentially in a lawsuit. That's the most recent one that ended. But that guy literally would never let me negotiate his deals with producers, because what he would do would be like, hey, bro, I have over 100,000 followers. I'll do one collab post with you. Because he had at the time, probably like 500,000 monthly listeners. And he'd be like, bro, like, I'll try to come back to you for more beats. So then the producers would give him a free beat. And then he would come back and be like, hey, bro, can I get a beat for, I have like maybe $150. So it was this cycle of abuse that he had where he was just using. And then when they wouldn't, he'd be like, well, that's cool, bro. I have 2 other producers who are offering me 2 beats for 200, or, you know what I'm saying? So I would say, I get why people are leery. I would say you do need to be prudent and you need to check. Don't be so caught up in the clout of, well, I am about to land with this artist and it could change my life. Now with the other guy, I went back to my artist and was like, come on, don't do this. And then I really helped that producer out in spite of my artist with in some other areas. He's one of the guys who's landed a lot of syncs with one of my female artists now because he did us right. But I'm saying you do need to check because there are people who will try to use you, even if it's a bigger artist, so I don't know. I'm not saying everybody's that way, but don't be so hungry to land something that you're willing to sacrifice your next 10 meals. And it's actually not a good opportunity.
100%.
That's a good point. Good point.
Yeah, I think a lot of people do get wrapped up in the monthly listeners number. And realistically, I mean, there's just so much trickery involved in streaming numbers, and people really do just Google, streaming royalty calculator, and they're like, oh, well, if I get 500,000 streams on here, that's about $5,000. Like, no, it's not. I don't even know where some of those numbers come from. And it's an experience thing. But I hear a lot of people, every time we bring this topic up, people are like, yeah, but if you're getting, 100,000 streams consistently, just give out the beats for free. I'm like, you really, really, really don't know. I don't have the energy to waste on this conversation, but consistently that will happen where it's all these people who happen to know all the numbers and they happen to know exactly what time the stream is going to occur and what type of account the consumer has and the fact that it's a real stream from a paid account and all this stuff. And it's just like, you can't predict any of that. Just be reasonable. And if it's reasonable and someone still rejects you, then you don't want to work with that person because that's an unreasonable person. Yeah, that's kind of where I would leave it. But I also know that gap is just going to continue to widen because there are a lot, and I'm going to put this on producers. There are a lot of producers who come into this game and see it completely as, money-making thing and seeing beats as a commodity. And so it's more about jumping in as quickly as I can and then turning over a profit. So to go back to what Phillip was saying, and what Dame is saying, all that, no free beats ever, that attitude is not realistic. When you're starting out, no, you're not going to charge. It's just how it is. I mean, when you're a little kid and you get your first watercolor set, you're not going to charge your parents $100 to put that thing on the refrigerator. That's ridiculous. So same with producers. I'm not saying we're little kids, but kind of we are. And that's not a bad thing. We're little kids discovering something amazing, which is making music out of thin air. And when we make this music out of thin air, suddenly, because of the way the internet is, we feel like we need to be getting paid $80,000 for that track because somebody somewhere on some forum said, well, that's what big producers used to get back in the day. Okay. You got to tune that white noise out. And to go back to what Phillip said, working with artists, granted, you're going to do it collaboratively. It's going to be for free. Is it going to get you somewhere? No. A lot of people will be like, you need to get with an artist and dedicate your time. And then that's how you blow up. And they're always like, that's what Gucci Mane did with Zaytoven and blah, blah, blah. Zaytoven and Gucci are 1 in a billion. You're probably not going to find that. So I'm not using that as the incentive to say, producers go out there and work for an artist for free for 10 years and suddenly you'll be a multimillionaire. No, but work with these artists and develop your sound and really become a producer, become comfortable creating on the spot, become comfortable accommodating what a rapper needs. Don't just go on YouTube, watch a tutorial, make beats and say, okay, cool, I'm ready to sell them, because you really don't know what that full process is. You know one very small part of it. And I guess that's why people constantly bring up that beat maker versus producer debate. So I'm almost talking myself to the other side, because normally I hate that debate. And now I'm like, okay, yeah, it does kind of make sense, because if you're just making beats and you never actually get into the songwriting or the song creation process, then yeah, there is a lot that you may be missing from your toolkit.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, and I know so my networking ebook is done. I just have to get it formatted. But one of the things in there that's appropriate for this conversation is like we all have to become like just great A&Rs. Like and not just like we just have to. You have to find talented people, like not just artists. Like you want to surround yourself, and this is what I feel like I've done with this podcast. Like I've found Payne and I found Erinn and I just met Phillip. Like you have to invest in good, talented people. And then eventually, if you continue to do that, whether you're a producer, whether you're a manager, whether you're an artist, like you will have a network, a team of solid people that are just going to continue to bring opportunities, and hopefully, you'll have a successful career. Even with videographers, like as long as you are good at finding talented people in whatever they do, a few years down the road, you'll have the network to pretty much do anything. So yeah, Phillip, let's end this with, I know you put out a lot of videos. Yeah. What do you feel like has been not your most impactful video, but like what's the message in the video that you've put out that either you're most proud about or got the best response?
I think the best one, the best response was the one talking to young artists about enjoying not having to answer to people, and not being in a label, and not being in a situation, and not having those pressures of like, expectations from fans and expectations from people, just enjoying, being thankful that they get to create and they get to do, what they love every day. That video, I think, hit a lot of people, or resonated with a lot of artists, because, as a dreamer, you just like have this vision of it working out the way that you want it to work out. And like, there's so many ups and downs in the music industry. Even when you do make it, like it's such a roller coaster, So in that roller coaster, sometimes it can be hard to remember that like, I'm actually doing this because I love it. And that, I actually like creating music and like helping people. So that one, I think, is one of the ones that people are like, oh wow, I forgot that, like, oh, I don't have a label beating down my door about me turning an album in because the last album did 1 million, copies, and now they want the next album to do. Like, I don't have radio things that I need to go to. I don't have all of these pressures on me right now, but like, I should be grateful that I get to like talk to my mom and talk to the people who hit me up all the time. Like, I get to answer my phone, you know what I'm saying? And be present. So yeah.
Dope. And then where can let people know you're on Instagram the most? So can people reach out to you there? Or
I'm on Instagram and I'm on TikTok too. Like, I'm starting to get in my groove there creatively.
You're doing the dances too.
Yeah, I'm doing the dances. I'm doing it. I'm trying to show my personality, and I'm trying to, give you some game. So like, I'm trying to really, really help on TikTok as well. So it's Phillip A. Payne, Philip Payne. It's so funny because I go by Payne too. So
and speaking of it, I wish you had more time. We'll have to get you back, because I did want to have a conversation with you about all the collaborating you're doing with your wife. That's amazing. And that's one of those things where it's like you're utilizing your personal relationships, which is something a lot of us don't do or can't do, and showing your personality, and then also cross promoting, because she has a crazy following herself. So it's just this really amazing dynamic from which obviously popular content is being created, which I think is such a unique angle that very few, we talk about La Russell doing kind of similar stuff, but he's doing it on a more person to person level, not his marriage. And that, I think, not only is that kind of a delicate dynamic to achieve, but it's also this amazing, productive, and really appealing dynamic once you actually are able to achieve it.
Thank you, man. That's something that like I've been very, very intentional about. Because I tell a lot of artists like, yo, you should have 3 pillars to your social media. Like, what do you stand for? Like when people come to your social media, what are they here for? Like, what are they here for? And when people come to my social media, I want them to know that you get music and you get family and, you know, you get me being a little bit of funny, you know what I'm saying? But that is what I stand for, family and music. So that's tight that you could see that, man.
Yeah, because it can't be all music and we preach that all the time. It's you're telling your story, and that's what people buy into for the long term. You might have a song they like or a beat that you like, but what's going to keep them coming back? That it's that story that they can relate to and that resonates with them, and that is ever evolving. So if we can get you back to talk about that, I think that would be a really valuable episode.
I would love to.
For sure.
Okay, you heard it here first. Phillip is coming, or A&R Payne 1 is coming back. So I'm looking forward to that. Once again, appreciate you for being on here, and I appreciate everyone for tuning in. And thank all of you. We'll be back same time, same place on the Music Entrepreneur Club podcast. Peace.
Peace.